Maseches Bava Metzia Daf Yud Aleph Amud Beis. After a long pause, we're in the middle of the page still, and the question we're asking, this shir first of all is L'nishmas of Imam Menachem and Akiva Rus Bashalom Sol Bas Moshe L'Fuas Kol Choyle Yisrael. So Rav Pope Omar, the line starts with the word Alimta. We're in the middle of Yud Aleph Amud Beis, and we're starting in Rav Pope Omar. Rav Pope Omar. What's Rav Pope coming to answer? We had a question. We said in the name of Ula, on behalf of Ula, we said that a chotzer is only koine in case the chotzer is ena mishtameres. If the chotzer is not guarded, is not kept, then what do you have to do? You can only be koine if the chotzer is mishtameres, if it's guarded. Yeah? Otherwise, no. Okay, fine. Now, the chotzer, on the other hand, we see in the story of Rabban Gamliel, that even though Rabbi Gamliel and his friends were way out, far away from the field of Rabbi Gamliel, he was makne to Rabbi Akiva and to the Levi, to Rabbi Yoshua, he was makne to them the kinyan chotzer. How could that work? They're not next to the field. He's not omid b'tzad tzedeo. So how is the chotzer koine? Apope Omar das acheres makne oison shiny. Das acheres makne means. Up until now, in the Mishnah, we spoke about hefker. Hefker is something which is harder to obtain. When you have hefker, it's harder to buy the hefker, okay, to get the hefker, and therefore the chotzer has to be mishtameres, or alternatively, the person has to stand next to the field. Yeah, I can already start filling the chart over here, and also you can see it online. Yeah, that's receiving an item from hefker. So the hefker, how does it work? It works like that. Yeah, the hefker, if the chotzer is guarded, either it's mishtameres, the chotzer is guarded, or the person is next to it. Next to it, if the chotzer is not guarded, the chotzer is the type of chotzer that's open and anybody can take anything, or the deer can just run through, depends on the item also, then we say that, either or. It either should be guarded or the person stands next to it. However, continues the Gemara. Continues the Gemara. In our case, when there's another person who's giving it to you, it's not a hefker. You have a person who's bestowing it upon you. He's giving you the item. Then das acheres maknoison means that the field can be what? Even if the field is hefker and you're not next to it, nothing. No, there are absolutely no requirements. Nothing. A gift from another person. Does the field have to be mishtameres? No, nothing. Not mishtameres at all. Not kept at all. And you're not standing next to it and nothing at all. Everything is good. Why? Because there's another person who has you in mind and his makne is doing the job for you. So the fact that the kinyan is weaker is compensated by the fact that there's a makne who's there to take care of everything. How do you know that's true? Nice svara, but what's your source? It says in the Mishnah, a person saw people running after the Metzia. In the Reisha of the Mishnah, we said, if the Metzia is a deer that's misken with a broken leg, then enachinami, you can be, then you coin it, and in the seifa, if the deer just whizzes by, runs through, then you are not koine, right? You're not koine with the field, and then if other people caught it, it belongs to them. Which means in the Reisha, as I already told you, the deer is so handicapped that even though it can run a little bit, but if the person can run after the deer and actually catch it in the field, that's called mishtameres. That's called that field, is keeping the deer for the person, and therefore, it can be caught there. And then in the Reisha, the kinyan chotzer works basically like I told you. If the chotzer guards it for me, keeps it for me, then good. And if the chotzer does not keep it for me, then not good. And on that, Rabbi Yomi had a question, and from his answer, we're going to derive the answer. The matono heyach, our Mishnah spoke about hefker. What would be the case in matono? What would be the case if somebody gives me the deer for my anniversary? Is giving us a deer, says the Rishonim ben Tarbus. Let's say he wants to give me an animal that is a domesticated animal, and that animal runs through, would you still require the animal to be stoppable and the chotzer guarding the animal? What would be the case there? Kibla minei Rabbi Abba bar Kahana, af al pi sheratz achren, ve'ein megian. Oh, even though the deer may be as quick as a deer, as a cheetah, is giving him a cheetah for his birthday, and it runs through, if there's a matana, if there's another person who's giving the gift, then, yeah, as the Gemara is going to say, my timer, even though you run after it, you were not going to get it. My timer, why is that? That then the kinyan is good? Lav mishum, isn't it because the das acheres makne is and shiny? Isn't it because there's a das acheres that's makne? If there's another person who's there to give me the item, so his das is overpowering everything else, and then even if the chotz is enemy, shtamer says koine. So far we see in the chart, yeah, what do we see? We see two things. We see that before going into details, we see that if there is a gift given by somebody else, then even the chotz is not guarded, it's good, not guarded at all. And you're not next to it, not guarded whatsoever. However, in hefker, then it's a different story. In hefker, we need some kind of shimur. Either the chotz are being naturally mishtameres with fences, or an animal that just can't move out of there, or I, the person, I stand next to the field to compensate for that because it's hefker. So I need to work harder. I need to create the kinyan with my chotzer, or the chotzer has to be a higher level kinyan. Okay. Amar Rav Shimi, and why is that? Because das acheres. Oh, is a das acheres? By gift, there is das acheres. There's another person who wants to give it to me. By hefker, there is no das acheres. There's no other person who's there to take care of business. I'm showing it also here in the Zoom. Is a das acheres receiving an item from another person? Yes. Receiving an item from hefker? No. Okay. Weiter. Okay. So now, frag the Gemara, comes the third factor into the story. Get. Aha, get. The lady wants to get a get. The das acheres makna oiso. Of course there's a das acheres. There's no get coming from hefker. Das acheres, absolutely. There's a man who is megarish her. And yet, V'omar Ula, says Ula, the very same Ula, says Vusha medis betzad beiso betzad chatzero. Only if she stands by the side of her house or a chotzer, then she's koine the get. Why? You see that by get there is das acheres, right? There's das acheres, and by get, by the way, we're super makmir. You know what we say by get? Always has to be kept, always, which means she has to stand by its side always. The woman has to stand by next to it. Yeah, by the get, the lady has to stand next to the chotzer in which her unbeloved husband throws the get into her chotzer, and she has to stand there. What's going on here? How could you explain that, right? There's a das acheres, and yet over there we're super machmir that even if the chotzer is guarded, she still has to stand next to it. So you see not like that, right? You see against what we're saying. You see that even though there's another person makne, right? You still need to be guarded and super guarded, and she has to be next to it, right? And says the Gemara, shiny get this about kocho. A get is against her wishes. A get she's not interested in. Okay. A get is something she's not interested. Okay. So now, so what? So what if she's not interested? So we see that therefore she needs to stand there to show that even though she's not interested, it's compensated by the fact that she stands there. As we're going to explain better later. But right now the Gemara is asking, Maskif Rav Sheshes brother Avidi is attacking what we just said. What? You're saying in the scene that it's only up to him and not up to her. Then she has to stand there? Why? I would say just the other way around. It's a kal v'chomer. Why? Kal v'chomer the other way. Umad get the isei bal kolcho. A get can function against her will. What does that show? That the man, the makne, the giver, the one bestowing and giving, has absolute power, right? What are we saying all the time? Like over here, in the case of a gift, the das acheres being, there's another person who's taking care of business. That's why the chotzer can be low level. The chotzer is not mishtameres. Well, over here, there's a super duper das acheres. I'll put two V's like in WhatsApp. Yeah. You have super das acheres. So why does she have to be next to it? The contrary, there's another person who's doing the whole job. She's more passive. So let her chotzer be even weaker. Why does the chotzer have to be so strong? And him also strong, the husband. Answers the Gemara, no. Yeah, excuse me. With the middle of the Kal V'chomer. I'm starting again from the fourth line from the bottom. The Lav Kal V'chomer is the Kal V'chomer. Umad get the Isei Bal Kolcho, a get which is against her will, and still, for whichever reason, in Eloi, we see that a chotzer, regardless of the power of the makna of the giver, we still require that the chotzer has to be super mishtameres and she's standing next to it. Okay, maybe we need perfection on both sides of the giver and the receiving chotzer. Okay, nagid, if so, matana de midaite lokol sheken, a matana which is weaker. Can I force you to get the matana? Can I push? Let's say, what don't you like to eat? Quick, hated food. Anybody? Yeah, liver. Oh my gosh. Okay, so let's say I'll never give you my liver. I love it. Yeah. So let's say science fiction. Can I force you to eat liver? No. I'm giving you a gift of liver. You'll throw it back in my face. Yeah. I can't force you to get what you don't like. And so you see, it's weaker. So the dasaches makna of a regular noisan matono, who's not a divorcing husband, is weaker. So kol sheken. So of course, in that case, of course, the chotzer of the receiving side, of course, has to be mishtamel, right? Because the giving is weaker. It's a seesaw. Elama Ravashi. Therefore says Ravashi, and this is now, here comes fun. Here comes fun. Here comes fun. And we're going to see Tosfos, and everything will be clear. Chotzer is raboy mishum yad, veloy goro mishlichus. Chotzer has two functions, yad and shlichus. Okay? So now, before we continue, I'll say Baal Peh, and then I'll say Tosfos, and I'll also quote a bit of Ritzvah. Listen to me, please. Say the Meforshim, and I'll read Tosfos inside. Our Zoom participants like the Tosfos. Now, Chotzer has, as we said before, two sources, right? We used to think that it's either or. Well, you know what? It's sometimes it's yad, sometimes it's shlichus, and sometimes it's both. What kind of passport do you have? American or Israeli? Both. British or Israeli? You can have 3 or 4. Yeah, the more passports, the better. So now the same thing over here. Chotzer has what? Also has inclination to yad and to shlichut, which means like a woman who gets her get, yeah. Actually, let me read one more line. And that a few more lines, and then we'll get the picture, and then I'll say what I say. Gabi get the choivulo. A woman receiving the get, and I'm answering your question from yesterday. For a woman to get the get is a choiv. What do you mean a choiv? It means it's not something that she's right. Listen carefully to my definition. It's not something that she right now gains money from. She may say, Baruch Patarana from this abusive husband, but she's not actually gaining money. Ksuba shmuba. Ksuba, first of all, is not always a gain, because up until now she ate from his bank account all the time. Now she has to chase the people from Ksuba, and he doesn't love her, okay? So she's not gaining anything financial and immediate now. So if a woman to get is a choiv, it's to her detriment. It's not a good thing. It's not a zechus. It's not a merit, meaning it's not cash for her, okay? That's the story by a get. Therefore, so what? Continues the Gemara, en chavin la'adam ela befonov. When it comes to a person, and we want to make some kind of financial or judicial process, that the person will come out chayiv, losing money or not gaining money, yeah? In such a situation, he or she have to be present, which means, and continues, by matana, the zchus uloi, a person wants to get the matana. The assumption is, says the Meforshim say, even though soin matana sichye, we still assume that a person wants to get money. Yeah, who says no to money? Sometimes, in most cases, yes. People work, you're working out to get money, and more money, usually the better. And therefore, matana, if somebody wants to cause a person a gain, a matana, a plus, an advantage financially, which is immediate and financial, such as the case of over here, then it's a zchus, and then zochin la'adam shaloi befonov. You can create a zchus for the person, even not in his presence. I can walk down the street, and I decide that Shlomo is a very, very nice guy. I walk down the street, gold watch. What do you want? Gold watch? Gold watch works for you? Good. So without asking Shlomo, I'll pick up the gold watch and I'll decide, listen carefully, that I'm a one unilateral shaliach, which is zechus. What is that? When I walk down the street, yeah, and I pick up the gold watch, and I'm saying I'm now working on behalf of Shlomo. How can I work on behalf of Shlomo? He never sent me to be a shliach. He never created the shlichus that I'll be his shliach, and my hand will be like his hand. Says here the Gemara, a very, very famous line which we just read. When it comes to zechus, we assume that Shlomo would make me shliach. Therefore, I am self-appointed shliach of his. That I can only do when it's a zechus, when it's something good for him. I'm picking up the gold watch and I'm saying this is for Shlomo, or I think it's for Shlomo. But she'enken, if a person wants to get a get for a woman, then no. A get for a woman is not a zechus for her, and therefore I cannot just receive a get for a woman without her consent and knowledge, or in this case, her presence. What does it have to do with the chotzer? Oh, now let me explain and then we'll see it in Tosfos. Chotzer has two parallel realities. Over here, by get, since the woman is not gaining anything, therefore the function over here is not shlichus, right? The chotzer cannot be her shliach, right? It cannot be a shliach. What can it be? It can be her yad. Why can't it be shliach? Because shliach is only there if you're not present. If you're not present near the shliach wants to work on by himself, and now we're comparing a chotzer. If you're far away from a chotzer, the chotzer works for you, not without your knowledge. That's how it works. Just like I can pick up the gold watch for Shlomo and I'm far away. I'm now in a trip in the end of the world and I pick up the gold watch for you because I'm zoiche for you. The same way, and by the way, I'm leaving a get now and I'm talking now about here. And it comes to a gift is a zchus. It's a good thing for the person. Because it's good for the person, mimela, he does not have to be present, and the chotzer does not have to be kept. He doesn't have to be present because it's for his own good. Just like I'm on a trip to Alaska, and in Anchorage, I found a gold watch in the street. I can absolutely pick it up for who? For someone, for Ellen this time, and Ellen will be the owner in a second once it's in my hand. Why? Because I'm working on his behalf for his benefit. So even though he doesn't know, he doesn't have to know. And even though the field is not guarded, the field does not have to be guarded because of das acheres. There's somebody else here. Therefore, the field, which is koine for me, is like a person koine for his friend while he's far away. And here the chotzer function is what? It's shlichus. Chotzer, when it's far away from the person, I'm not standing next to it, it's not guarded. Far away from me is good, even far away, because it's a chus for me. So things can work for my benefit, yeah, for my gain, for my prosperity, even when I'm not involved. The other extreme is the get. Although the husband is absolutely very active being makne, but there's a huge disadvantage that she doesn't want it. Or even if she wants it and she says, oh, Baruch Shabtarani from this monster, what a mistake of a shidduch, lo meshaneh. Lamaisa, she's not gaining anything. The assumption is it's a loss. She's also losing money. She's losing the zoyna, sherek, sus, oino. And therefore what? And therefore she has to be next to it. Why does she have to be next to it? Explain the Rishonim. Shlichus doesn't work here. Shlichus doesn't work if I'm not interested. She's not Mashalech the field. So how does the chotzer work? What's the other parallel? Yad. We say that the person's chotzer is like the person's hand. Last time I checked, Baruch Hashem, big gesund all of us. Baruch Hashem, everybody in the room have two arms, Baruch Hashem, and two hands connected to the body. Your hand, by most people, your hand is next to you. So too the woman has to be next to the chotzer. She has to be next to it because it's because of yad. Because it's yad, therefore she has to be next to it. We're not coming mitzad shlichus, we're coming mitzad yad. Now comes the tricky case of hefker. Hefker. Hefker is in the middle. If you notice, hefker is the middle case. Why? On one hand, he doesn't always have to be there next to it. If the chotzer is guarded, he has the chotzer very well fenced, nobody can come in and out, Anything thrown in from the sky will be kept there very nicely. Shomer bitachon. I'm exaggerating a bit, yeah, but it's very, very well guarded. Then he doesn't have to be next to it. Something from falls from hefker, not like a get. He doesn't always have to be there. If the chotzer is open or it's a deer that runs through everything, then he has to be next to it, right? He has to be guarded, but not super guarded like with the woman. Why? Oh, because by hefker there's one X and one tick. Is there das acheres? No, there's no das acheres makna. Because there's no das acheres makna, it has to be guarded. It has to be guarded. There's no das acheres, right? So mimela, the kinen chotzers of itself has to be a super duper kinen chotzer. I don't have the daddy to take care of me, the makne. I'm working alone as a kone, so I need a very good chotzer to help me. On the other hand, it is a zchus. Because it's a zchus, mimela, it's working mitzad shlichus and not mitzad yad. Zchus works with shlichus, which means if it's something good for the person, something that he's gaining from, and he is a deer, a very nice deer, worth a lot of money. I don't know how much a deer costs. A deer came in from Hefker, and now because it's something good for me, mainly I don't always have to be there like Yad. Even if I'm far away, as long as the chotzer is guarded, it's good enough. Why? Because it's a zchus. Let's see Tosfos, and then you can ask your questions. What I said to you, by the way, of combination with different Rishonim. Now we'll see what Tosfos says. Says the first Tosfos, and then I'll hear you. When chotzer is like yad, when the person is physically, geographically next to his or her chotzer, even against his will, such as get. Oh, and another nafkamina, or afilu ktana kiyodo. Very good. Which means, listen to this. Another nafkamina, which I wrote in the chart, read your chart today. Ektana, remember the story of Ektana? At 10 years old, her husband wants to be megarisher. She behaves like a baby. Like, what did you expect? No. So the 10 years old is what her husband divorces her. And then what do we say? She can get to the chotzer. Shlichus? Tanim cannot do shlichus. Your 10 years old grandson cannot appoint you, nominate you as a shliach. No. So how does it work? Yad. Because yad is not shlichus. Yad is almost the physical part of my body. So is chotzer. That's what works bektana too. Ukshe'ena smucha lechatzero. The law have you do with the yad? No. When she's not next to the chotzer, and it's not like yad, let's say the ktana or anybody or gdola is not next to her field, not next to her garden, so it's not like yad, it's detached from the body, so it's not like her long arm. Now, no, I'm sorry, that's not in get. He's now moving from get to non-get. Let's say now we're talking about other areas of chotzer, a regular kinyan between men. Don't tell me when there's no yad, then there's no shlichus. Don't tell me because the guy's an Israeli citizen, he has to give up his British citizenship. No, we have both yad and shlichus. When you're far away from the field, it's not yad. This is very clear. This is yad, this is shlichus, and this is shlichus. Those two are shlichus, and the woman is yad. Yeah, they can be far away. Why? When we have a zchus like a gift, is kono. Even if he's not standing next to his field. As I told you, you see the chart, very clear. The chotzer is not guarded. The chotzer, he's not standing next to it. He's in Alaska, and his chotzer is in Bet Shemesh. Nevertheless, it doesn't make a difference because he has all the points to his benefit. There's another person taking care of the kinyan, and the zchus is there. Everything is good. The chotzer doesn't have to be so strong. It's a shliach who works for him. In his absence, I can pick up a gold watch in Alaska and have in mind my friend in the Shemesh. Yes, that's what the chotzer does. Absolutely fabulous. Ube Metzia. Oh, the middle case. Metzia is hefker. Metzia is hefker case. The ein das acheres makna oisa. There's no other person who's giving it to me. Then you need a chotzer mishtameres. In other words, the chotzer may work for me when I'm far away because it's good for me. But because there's no other person makne, the chotzer has to do a better kinyan. The chotzer has to be fenced and keep what's inside. Continues to say, so beget the choivulo. beget that's a choy for her. Afilu b'mishtameres einu misgareshes. Question for you: what would be a woman? Yeah, that is, what's that woman doing? She wants to get divorced. He wants to get divorced, and she's right now on holiday. So hard, this whole divorce business. And she says to her unbeloved husband, "Throw me the get to mechotzar mishtameres. I have a house that's very well guarded, very well kept, and I'm not next to it. Would he work for a get? No. Ait mishtameres. No, no, no." Says Toisves, "Deloy difa mishlichus. Den chavin lodem shaloi befonov." Again, think of yad and think of shlichus. Buy a get, it works because of yad. Maybe you want to be smart and say, well, chotzer is also shlichus. Thank you very much. But shlichus does not work for your detriment when you're far away. So the woman is far away from her chotzer. What do you want, lady? Yad, you're not next to it. Shlichus? No. Shlichus does not work because ein zochin la'od, ein chovdin la'odom. You don't create a debt when the person is not present. That's why by woman, she always has to be next to it. And this is all written in this chart over here, much more detailed. Will be sent to you today, a sequence of everything. And I'm absolutely open now to your questions. At this stage, we are still in Israel, not in North Korea. Yes. Gufa. Now we're going the fourth line of Yud Beis Amud Aleph, today's page. Sorry about that. Gufa. Now we're going to deal with the Mishnah itself. A person saw people running after Metzia. So what? If the Metzia can be kept there, it's his. And if the Metzia cannot be guarded, the deer is very healthy and just whizzes by, then it does not belong to the owner of the Chotzer. The Reisha that told me that the Chotzer is koine, the Chotzer does acquire Bekin Chotzer, that's because the deer, his skin is so handicapped that people can run after it and catch it. What would be the case in Matono? Somebody else wants to give me the gift. Do we still need Chotzer Mishtameres when there's a gift? You guys should answer this, not the Gemara. Let's say another good soul wants to give me the gift, and everybody wants, and I'm not present, and the Chotzer is not guarded. Do we need the Chotzer to be guarded? I'm not opening the screen. Yeah, the answer is no. No. Since it's what? Zachin la'odam shaloi befonov, I can pick up a gold watch when I'm in Timbuktu, my next time in Timbuktu, for somebody who's in Afghanistan. Yes, I can. Zachin la'odam shaloi befonov. It's as if, I know, it's in Mali. So, very good. So now, Enechinami, I can be Zoicha. He is like my Meshaleach, even though he's not. We assume he sent me. Answers the Gemara, yes. Even though the deer, in the case of somebody who wants to give me the deer, wants to give me the birds, and they fly by, they run through, what do we say? Even if they cannot be kept in the field, cannot be saved in the field normally, I'll have to, whatever, do something later to catch it, but the deer is running by, still the deer is mine, because there's another person who's makne to me, and then my weak chotzer, Mishtameres, works for me, because there's another person who has a stronger hakno'o. Boyrove comes Rava with the following question. Let's say a person wants to give you matono, yeah, or let's say Rashi says, a person wants to, even without matono, it's true, no, it's not a matono. A person wants to throw an arnaki, and he says, whoever is going to get it first will get it. Whoever will get my wallet, my pouch full of money, whoever will get it first will get it. And you know what he did? He threw it through the person's house, and it literally flew by without touching the floor. He's a good pitcher, and he threw it, and it went from one window to the other. It went through your house, but never landed in your house. It literally flew by, fly by night. It flew in your house, that arnaki, good pitcher, and whoo, it flew through your house. Mahu. What would we say over there? What would be the halacha in that case? That's a question. Avir she'en sofer lanuach kimunach dami. Since avir she'en sofer lanuach, en sofer lanuach means, let's say the person, the trajectory, of that arnaki is en soif lanuach, which means there are two ways to throw something. Either I throw it, look, from here and it falls down, right? When it's in the air, we know it's in an angle when it's going to fall down because gravity usually works, right? En soif lanuach is this motion. We know that the push was the blow was so strong, the pitching, that it's not going to stop. Ask any, any mumche, tell you, no, the throw is so strong, it's not going to land, and it really never did. So we're talking about something not only is in the air, it's something that it's not even potentially, not only it's not on the ground, it's not even potentially on the ground because his blow was so hit, the recessive was so strong, that it actually will never go down. It's not even potentially going to touch the floor. Many times in halacha we say, anything that's about to be picked from the fruit, from the tree, is like picked from it, right? It's about to, it's already happened. This is not going to land. This is not going to land ever in your house, not this time, not this journey. So the question is, do we still say that what's up here is considered as if it's down here or not? Maybe we should say that anything that's in the air is good enough. Once it's in the air, it's considered as if it's on the ground, yes or no. Do we view it that way or no? Like in Shabbos, it's a big machloekes. Something flies in Rishus HaYochid. Do we say kilo landed in Rishus HaYochid, yes or not? Rabbi Kiva and Chachamim, it's big machloekes. What are you going to say over here? Is it considered that it landed in my house or did not land in my house? Nafkamina for Kinyan, right? Do we say that it's koine, it's in my house, and it's properly on the ground, or not? Let's ignore now the deer story, that will come later. Rav asked the question, and Rav Papa wants to answer. Some people say Rav Ada bar Matna said it to Rav. Some people say that Ravina said it to Rav. Well, yes. We saw that if the deer runs by, the deer runs through, right? And we said that if we're talking about hefker, that the only time you're coining the deer is not when it whizzes by. Then when the deer misken is limping through and you can catch it and have it. Then we say by case of hefker, you're coining. However, and yet, Rabbi Yomi asked the question, repeating for the third time, if it's a matana, what would be the case? The kibbutz Rabbi Abba bar Kana, Rabbi Abba bar Kana accepted from him the matana. When a person gives a matana, then even if the deer whizzes by, runs through, then it does belong to the recipient. Oh, the chiddush is this guy who says hefker to whoever wants is like a matana. The one who actually says, let's say this marker, whiteboard marker, I mafkir to whoever will be the first one to own it, to get it in his chotzer, let's say. It's like a matano. It's like a das acheres. It's not something got wrong hefker and it fell from the sky by mistake. There's somebody here who says, I want the owner to be the first guy to have it in his house. Oh, if so, just like the deer running very quickly, unstoppable deer, and we say, since there's another person who's makne, it works. Same thing over here. Why won't you say that the same thing in the item that flies by? Also, if there's another person involved who's makne, same thing over here. Let's say that it should be a kinyan. His mind, the makne, should work for the chotzer to work better, even though the item flies by or runs by. Answers the Gemara, don't whitewash me. There's a difference between running and flying. You're talking about something that's rolling or running, something that's unstoppable on the ground, like mitgalgel, like rolling, is not the same. Shani misgalgel the kemunach dami. Something rolling on the floor is like munach. That's the word. Something that is attached to the ground, at least part of the time, when the deer runs, then sometimes every half a second or so, I guess, is at least one of his 4 feet are on the ground, right? Since there's more or less continuous connection with the ground, then you can say it's like munach. It's on the ground, like a football. Somebody plays football, he's mafkir the football, and he kicks it into someone's field, and it runs through the field. But the football is touching the ground all the time, or most of the time. Then we say the chotzer is, although it's not mishtameres, although it runs through the other side, it exits quickly through the other entrance, the exit of the field. It's not mishtameres, but it's there. There's connection to the ground. It touched the ground. The shenk in our case, no. Our case, it's in the air. To say that something in the air is considered like in the ground, that we never found. No. Whenever loy matzinu, we never saw a case in our Masechta that something completely mid-air is considered to be like on the ground. This is not the same thing, and could very well be, therefore, we remain in the question, and we would still say that the thing that flies through may not be nikne, although not because it's not mishtameres. Not mishtameres doesn't bother me when there's another person in charge, but I am bothered by the fact that there is no connection to the ground. Kinin chotzer, it has to touch the chotzer. And since it's not touching the chotzer, not even about to touch the chotzer, not even on its way to touch it, it's not even falling, therefore there's no kinyan. That's what we want to say. Weiter. Questions or weiter? Yeah. There are two fields, one, okay, yes. Mishnah. Oh, now we're going to talk about Metzia, about ownership of a person's household, people of your household, your children, your wife. Who owns what when it comes to found object? It says the Mishnah, Metzias b'noi b'toi ktanim. At this stage, we think tani means under marbitzva. Yeah, a person's son or daughter who are ktanim, or minors, yeah, who are under 12 or 13, and or metzias avdav shivchosa knainim, a metzia found by one's eved or shivcha that are not Jewish, and the status is a mamish owned by the person, and they all found object, the son, the daughter, yeah, the eved, metzias ishtoi, metzia of one's wife, arei elu shaloi, they belong to the husband. The wife finds something in the street, and if you support her, then she has to give you the metzia, and automatically belongs to you. By the way, I said something wrong now. I already said something not 100% meduyak. We're going to see that there's a big difference, and that's when I corrected someone's mistake a few weeks ago. There's a difference between zoiche for someone and giving to someone. In this Reisha, we're talking about the fact that once the cotton picks it up, it automatically belongs to his father. When the Eved picks up, it's automatically belonging to the master. When a wife picks up in the street, gold watch belongs to her husband. Each one has a reason. We're going to focus first about the young boy. That's going to be the focus. The daughter is actually a din from the Torah. Yeah, Metzia of Beneurea, Kol Shvach Beneurea. Anything that a girl who's young, everything that she owns goes to the father. Now, the wife is because of Eva. Chachamim did not want to create an animosity between husband and wife. And since the assumption is the husband works very hard to support his family, so he tells his wife, you found the object, not only works so hard to support you, now you found something, you keep it for yourself, give it to me. I'm the financial hub of the family. And he's also mechuyev to give her part of it as a mezoinus, as parnosa. Now, so that's the Reisha. The cotton we'll be discussing in the Gemara. The Seifa is just the opposite. Metzias b'noi b'to gdoilim. Metzia of son and daughter were above bar mitzvah. By the way, that's one way to explain gdolim. Or Metzias avdiv shivchosa ivrim. Metzia of eved shivcha, the ivrim, the ones that are Jewish, yeah, that are not completely owned by him. Kili b'nei Yisrael avodim. They're not completely owned by the person. They're like hired work. Metzias ishto shegirsha. And Metzia of his wife that whom he divorced. Afal pishalonos and ksuba. There's the woman whom he divorced but did not yet give her ksuba. Arei elu shalohen. So the children who are above bar mitzvah and the founder Metzia belongs to them. The eved v'shivcha ivri, they have their own rights. They work for you and they're subjugated to you in a very, very slight way. They're much more independent than the knainim. Metzia belongs to them. And the woman who got divorced, it also belongs to her, even though you still have strings attached because you did not yet pay her ksuba. In the interim stage, she's not your wife at all, but you did not give her the ksuba yet. Still, the Metzia belongs to her. I'm not going to explain anymore because the Gemara will explain about the women later and about the Gdolim. Now we're going to talk about the cotton. The main focus of the sugya now will be the Metzia of a young boy who is not yet a Godol. And I want to again stress again and again and again, please open two windows in your mind, two different windows. There's one person who's who picks up something in the street for himself, and then gives it to his friend. Later on, he says, I picked up the gold watch for me, selfish guy. And then I decided, oh, let's be nice and give it to repair it. Yeah, that means I was coining it for myself, then I gave it to him. There's another guy who does what? As is picking up, each and every second of picking up, already he decides belongs to who? Belongs to his friend. Belongs to parents, not to me, right? That's zechia. He's zocher for the other person, and we just learned he can do it. The question is, what happens by a cotton? Before we start the Gemara, when a cotton is, a cotton picks up something in the street and says, oh, that for sure should belong to my father. Now, the question is, how does that work? The assumption is most kids behave that way. Today, maybe not. I don't know. Very corrupted today. But the assumption is, as the Gemara is going to say, when a kid picks up something in the street, he's going to give it to his father. How did it work? Does it mean that the cotton has his own zechia? He has his own ownership, and then he gives it to the father? Or do we say, no, the cotton has no ownership. His hand, listen carefully, is like the long arm of the father. It's an automatic zechia. I am a gadol, I can decide. The gold watch will be mine or will be Peretz's right from the start. The cotton may not have such choice. It's a question. Maybe he's picking up in belongs already to the father right from the first second, because the cotton is just a cotton. He has no ownership of himself. That's the question, and we're going to elaborate and explain everything. Be'ezras Hashem. Omar Shmuel. Why is it that they said Metzia of a cotton belongs to the father? A woman and a girl, there's psukim, there are reasons mentioned in ksubas. We're not learning ksubas now. But a boy, why do we say that everything the boy found belongs to the father straight away? And he said, when he finds a metzia, he runs with it, meritza, he runs it to his father, he runs with it to the father, and does not hold it back by himself. Yeah, there's no demarriage, he doesn't leave it by himself. Which means what? Which means that it's not just a social norm. This is what Ktanim do, and we halachically interpret it as what? As the Ktanim not having zechia. The cotton gives it to his father, and we explain it as the cotton right from the start never owned it. He was always the father's. The cotton has no ownership, and therefore his arm is really an extension of his father's long arm. Says the Gemara, is that so? Lemeimra desover Shmuel, is that what you're telling me? Are you telling me that Shmuel thinks cotton lace lezchil anavshe midoraisa? In other words, it's not a rabbinical thing. Do we assume that midoraisa, a cotton, has no zchia to himself? He has no financial entity to be zoche by himself, and anything he picks up, it's as if daddy's long arm is his arm, and right from the start it belongs to the father? Is that so? Okay. Now we're going to see a brisa that will not sit so prettily with that. Tanya, it says in the brisa, and again we talk about our good friends, the matnois anim, the anim picking in the field. A soicher is a poyel. A person rented the poyel. A person hired is the better word in English. He hired a worker for the day. Now, be mindful of the fact, many times, who are the poyelim? You tell me today, who do you pick in order to pick, I don't know, tomatoes in the field? A person with 3 PhDs in medicine, a lawyer, an architect? No, most cases no. What? It's usually an oni. Poor people, they rent themselves out, they hire themselves out to do the menial jobs. So now the anim many times would also work as poyalim. A balabais would see an oni that's very diligent and say, okay, you know what? You want to be a little bit more decent, not get stuck on? I'll hire you for the day, give you, a few bucks and work for me. Oh, now let's continue. A person rented a poyel who is not rich. He's still poor. He didn't yet get his daily wages. Then the son of the poyel can actually pick up after the poyel. The father is the poyel, and the son is an oni. The son is an oni. So now, the son is allowed to be melaket. Why? Because even if we say that the son is really the long arm of the father, it's absolutely fine. You know why? Because the father is poor. The father, although he just found one day's job and he's so happy about it, Lemaisa, the son picking after him is picking for who? On behalf of who? Daddy. Daddy is poor. It's absolutely okay. I'm allowed to pick for my daddy, the poor, and I'm not just picking for him. I am him. I am him. My arm is his arm. It's an arm of a poor person. It's a long outstretched arm of a poor person who right now found a temporary job. Mazel tov. I hope he becomes a doctor one day. Now he's not. He's a poor guy. His son picks on his behalf, and it's fine. However, oh, let's say this guy is a higher class guy. He's a guy who the owner told him, you're not getting some pennies and peanuts for your work. I'm giving you a percentage. Oh, you're going to get half or a third or a quarter. You're like a sharecropper. Oh, that means the father, although maybe still wearing rags, he's be'etzem, a partial owner of the field. If you're an owner of a field, even if you don't have what to eat, lemaisa, you have property. So now the father, who is a poyel, who works for percentage, is rich. He's a rich guy. Lo yalakit b'noi achrov. The son cannot pick after him. Why? Cannot following him and pick on his behalf, because the father is a reich mensch. He's rich, and therefore, rich, by the way, doesn't mean Bill Gates, not Elon Musk. I think most of us, have more than 200 zoos. If you have more than 200 zoos in your pocket, you have 200 zoos in your Bitcoin, yeah? 200 zoos, you're already rich, meaning you're not eligible for Matnas Anim. The father is not eligible for Matnas Anim. Then the son cannot pick for him. Why? Because son is the father. So he's a stretched arm of who? Of a rich man. You're an arm of a rich man? Get out of here, boy. You're not allowed to pick because you are really your father, and your father is not eligible for the Matnas Anim because he has too much money, because he has percentage in the field. So says Tanakama. So Tanakama basically clearly holds that the cotton, when he picks up, he's mamish his father's arm. He will not give it to him later. He's now the father. He's now the father, which means he has no schus. He doesn't have his own entity financially. He's working on behalf of the father. Rabbi Yosi says, argues and says, Ben kach uben kach, yelaket b'no v'ishto yachrov. His wife, I don't know, the wife came in, but Lamaisa, his family, they can always pick up after the father, even if the father is rich. Wow. The father can be a very rich man, yeah, with a nice tie, and, plushed everything, and yet his son can pick up after him. How come? I'll tell you why. Because what Rabbi Yossi thinks and how he argues on Tanakama. Rabbi Yossi does not believe that the little boy's arm is his father's arm. He believes in option B. He believes that the son is poor. The son himself is poor because the father didn't get his wages yet. Yeah, he's millionaire on paper, but they're not really rich. The son is allowed to pick up. And you know what? As he's picking it up, the son didn't do anything according to Rabbi Yossi, because a child picking up is like the air picking up. And you know who owns now those sheaves, those wheat and barley that the son picked up? You know who owns them? Nobody. No. Hefker. According to Rabbi Yossi, the son has no financial entity midoraisa. We saw him giving it to his father. It's his absolute right to give it to the father, because Lamaisa, now it's something that what happened. It's not the father picked from the field. It moved from the field into Hefker belt, and from the Hefker, the father took it. Yeah, the son took it, garnished, nothing. Now the father took it from that no man's land. Again, if the father takes it straight from the ground, straight from the field, that's not allowed. You're a rich man. How can you take from like a chikran peah, right? Or according to Tanakama, a rich man's son cannot take for him because it's like the father himself taking. But according to Rabbi Yossi, that doesn't work. You know why? Because he's taking it, right? Then the son, excuse me, I made a mistake according to Rashi. I made a mistake between two things. According to, you're right. According to Rashi, sorry, I moved to other areas. According to Rashi, the son does have his own ownership. Sorry, my mistake. The son owns it as an oni, I meant something else and made a mistake. I confused two things. Sorry. The son is now coined for himself. Now gives it a gift to his rich father. Ma'achpat. Very good. Why not? Right? The son is, yes, his own entity, according to Rabbi Yossi. He's not part of the father. Now the son wants to give a gift to his father. And absolutely no problem with that. Let's say a poor person picks up something in the field, comes home with his crop, what he managed to collect, and then he gives it to his rich friend. Absolutely fine, right? That's what happens over here, according to Rabbi Yossi. Again, I'm sorry for the mistake. According to Tanakama, the son has no financial entity whatsoever, and he's just a long arm of the father. So if the father is rich, the son can't pick up, because the son is just a fork, he's a pitchfork, he's an arm of the rich man. Rich man cannot pick up like a chikhopeah. The Sheikh and Rabbi Yossi says what? No, the son is his own entity. The son can pick up for himself, and then he gives it to his rich father. He's allowed to. That's already second stage. But the problem is, V'amar Shmuel, who's Shmuel siding with? Bad news. V'amar Shmuel, alochik Rabbi Yossi. Oy, Shmuel says aloch is like Rabbi Yossi. Why isn't it good for Shmuel to say alochik Rabbi Yossi, which indicates what? That the cotton has his own hand, has his own entity. As the Gemara questions, if you said that the cotton has his own zechia, that the cotton has his own ability to be koine and receive for himself, he's malakit for himself, and he's a poor boy, misken, dressed in rags, and he's just picking up for himself. The father minekazochi. Later on, he gives it to the father as the second stage, and that works very well with Rabbi Yossi. So you see that what Rabbi Yossi say, the cotton has his own entity. But if you want to tell me what you said before on behalf of Shmuel, that a cotton has no zchia for himself, and the cotton is the long arm of his father, then he's malakit straight. Every motion of his fingers is like his father. He's malakit mamish for his father. Avua oshiru. The father is rich. Doesn't mean rich millionaire. The father has percentage in the field. The father theoretically is a field owner. So how can the children and wife be malakit after him? The father is rich, and the wife and children, especially the children, are absolutely connected to him. Elamai, you see Shmuel, if he believes in Rabbi Yossi, Shmuel believes that cotton does have separate entity. And it's not what Shmuel said here. Shmuel said here at the beginning of the sugya that a cotton runs to his father straight away, and Shmuel interpreted it as being what? As being the cotton's zoiche for his father straight away, right from the start. So it's a steer in Shmuel. Shmuel contradicts himself. Answers the Gemara, don't worry about it. Shmuel time at the Tana Didan Ka'omar. Shmuel explains to us the reason for our Tana. Our Tana and Rabbi Yossi argue. Welcome to Machlokes Tanoim. Shmuel never took sides. Shmuel explained the logic behind our Tana that said that a cotton has no zchia and a cotton's yad is like his father's yad. And he himself never held that way. Shmuel does not side with our Mishnah. Shmuel explained our Mishnah. You know, if I translate the text from English to Hebrew, doesn't mean I agree with the text. You know, lahavdil. I'll explain to you, I'll translate something from Hebrew to English from a very leftist person. Doesn't mean I agree with him. Lahavdil of Abdullah. Shmuel explained the Mishnah. Doesn't mean he agrees with that. Who does he agree with? Rabbi Yossi. What does Rabbi Yossi say? Cotton has rights. Cotton has his own kinyan. Then he gave it to the father.
Why is the wife coupled with
Because the wife, midurabanan, also has to give everything to her husband who supports her. That's why. She's not like the cotton, because the wife many, many times has rights to keep her own things. The classical, before feminism and before koilalim became very rampant, Baruch Hashem for koilalim, not for feminism. Then in a chinami, regularly a husband would support his wife. He's the main supporter, is in most families today also. And Mimela, he says to her, I work my body off 24 hours a day to support you, and you found a nice thing, you keep it for yourself, chutzpah, bring it to the family's account. Yeah, we should all enjoy it together. And I'm the mefarnes. Yeah, weiter. Frag the Gemara, v'sover Rabbi Yossi, koton is the zchia midoraisa. Ooh, now we're challenging Rabbi Yossi himself. Wow. Up until now was Shmuel. Rabbi Yossi himself cannot argue on himself. And Rabbi Yossi himself, are you sure that Rabbi Yossi thinks that a cotton midoraisa has his own entity to be zoiche, and whatever it gives to the father is a second stage, is a second gift, a gift from the son to the father? That's none. Look at the Mishnah. Metzia cheresh shoyte v'koton. The only reason why a metzia of, let's say, a cheresh shoyte koton found something in the street, midoraisa, they have no kinyan. They found something in the street, they don't have a kinyan midoraisa. Yesh ben mishum gezel mipnei darke shalom, which means the reason why you should not snatch it from the chereshot of a cotton is to keep the peace. The chereshot of a cotton sometimes are intelligent enough to feel that they were wronged, and if they find a talis in the street and they're so happy, you'll snatch it from them. That's nasty. It's not nice. So don't do it. Let them keep what they found. But it's only midorabbono, not midoraisa. It's a rabbinical establishment. Takono. Rabbi Yossi Omer gezel gomu. Rabbi Yossi says it's real gezel, which means, oh, that's very tricky. What does it mean it's real gezel? The gezel gomer midivrein. It's a gezel gomer, but only midorabonon, which means midoraisa. Let's forget about the cheresh and the shoita. The same cotton we spoke about before, the son of the sharecropper who's still poor. If he picks up a gold watch in the street, it's only his midirabonon, not midoraisa. Not midoraisa, okay? So now, the question is also, the Nekama said it's midorabonon, and Rabbi Yossi said it's midorabonon gezel gomu. What's the difference between gezel and gezel gomu? What's he coming to give you musar? What's Rabbi Yossi different to Tanakama? That's a side question. That's a side question. Says the Gemara, nafkamina lotzia b'dayonin. To go to Beis Din. According to Tanakama, it's a lechatchila. We instruct people, be nice to the chereshot of a cotton. They're disadvantaged people, miskinim, and therefore let them keep what they have. But can the cotton take you to Beis Din? No. According to Rabbi Yossi, the cotton can take you to Beis Din. It's the Rabbanon, but if the 10 years old has a lawyer, today it happens, you know. Tanim can have a lawyer, and the cotton stands there in court with his lawyer. I have my rights. And I got the thing with the Rabbanon, I claim it from the other guy who took it for me, from me. But lemaisa, the question remains. Keep your eyes on the ball. Rabbi Yossi says, midarabonon, if the cotton picked up something belongs to him, but midoraisi belongs to who? To the father. So how could Rabbi Yossi say, when it comes to the son of the rich man picking, how is he allowed to do that? Yeah, you can't change the doraisa. Midoraisa, you have the long stretched arm of a rich man who looks like his son, yeah, in the form of his son. And what's happening here? A rich man collecting matnasanim. How could that be for Rabbi Yossi? Hello, Marabaye. A whole different reason. The reason why, really, I will finish here. You know why the little boy of the poil of the worker can walk after the poil, the worker or the sharecropper, and pick for him? Asahua, Chachamim considered it. It's considered as if the old people walked and everybody already collected and collected. The anim gufayu maschedatayu. The anim themselves gave up on it. The only reason you're not allowed to take matnas anim because the other anim want it. In this case, when the child of the main worker walks after him, the all the other anim already gave up on it. Savri, they think brei dehayach melak telei. The sons of this guy, they all pick for him. They're a mafia. There's a mafia in the field. The main sharecropper, followed by his entourage of children. Mimela, everyone gives up on it. And that's why the little children are allowed to do it. The question obviously is, well, what's your question? How do we perpetuate such injustice? That's going to be the question tomorrow, right? Again, what did we say? Let's summarize, and then we go home. I'm not going to go home, but maybe you will. Again, according to Rabbi Yossi, what we want to say now is that Einachinami Midoraisa, everyone agrees, even Rabbi Yossi, and by the way, now Shmuel is also better. For now, everyone agrees that the cotton has no zchiyah for himself. Look at me. Imagine yourself, I'm a cotton, ignore the hairs on my hand. Let's say I'm a little boy, and what I'm picking up, who am I picking it up for? Automatically, no choice. I'm like a robot for who? For my daddy. That's it, right? No other thing. How can Rabbi Yossi say that the Ktanim can pick up for the father? The father is a sharecropper. Sharecropper who owns shares in the company. He is potentially rich. He has parts of the land. How can they do it for him? You can't tell me anymore what you said before. He's saying he's working for the father. Says the Gemara, no, for a whole different reason. The other anim already gave up. Yeah, if you have your rights, and I know you gave up on your rights, complete. Iyush, remember Bava Kama? Iyush. So Mimela, I can pick it up. But says the Gemara, why are they miyash? Everybody else is miyash. They say, oh, here come the main guy with his whole bunch of children. We're miyash because we know they're going to pick it. The Gemara will ask tomorrow, what? How do you perpetuate such a thing? Right? How do we allow? You want to quickly read it? Let's quickly read it so we finish the Amud. Are you allowed to put a lion in your field? You're a miser. Let's say you're a miser. Nobody here is a miser. Let's say you're a miser, and you don't want Danim to get like a chikopea. I'll put a lion in my field, roaring away. I'll get you from the malchazu, and what? And no anim will come. All the anim will be miyash, and I'll keep it for myself. Ha ha ha! Trick the system. Will Chachami perpetuate such a thing? Avada not. Yeah. So that's what you're doing here. What kind of injustice is that? It's a chicken and egg. Yeah. Why do you allow the children to be milaket? Because other people will be miyash. So don't allow the children to go there. That's a question. Cliffhanger. We are Baruch Hashem an Amud and a half away, and tomorrow is Beis Amud Beis. Tomorrow is Tuesday. Wednesday, we're starting 9:20 and finishing a little bit earlier. Thank you very much. Thank you very, very much.